the sky really is the limit. And the only roadblocks that you have in your life are the ones that you let stop you. And so, you might not have access to A, B, or C like someone else has. But that doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just might be a different way.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your support and thank you for listening in. In this interview, we delve into the experience of a visionary leader. We explore her leadership, faith, and mentoring approach. Please welcome High Point Chamber of Commerce President, Rachel Moss-Collins. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited.
Thank you. I appreciate you agreeing to do it and taking the time out of your day.
Absolutely.
I wanted to start by diving into what motivated you to step up and lead the High Point Chamber, and how do you believe this experience has shaped your leadership?
I think it all began really earlier, just kind of me as a person. I think that I've always had the spirit of do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so when we were going through the transition from the High Point Chamber into Business High Point, the merger, all of that, everyone had to roll up their sleeves. And, I've always believed in the mission of the chamber. That's really to help businesses grow and excel. And I've always just in my heart and my soul, the Lord's always told me, do not excuse yourself from the table that you've been called to. And so that's kind of my mantra, that I knew I hadn't been excused from the table. It wasn't always fun. It was difficult because we were growing and we had to figure out who we were, and we had to become no other. And we knew that we had to do that through the merger and the transition. And so just through that process, it really helped me figure out, okay, who are you today? Who are you going to serve tomorrow? And that's also as our organization. And so that really just set the stage for how I would lead our team that's growing, which is really cool. But it really helped us, it set us up to where we are today. And that's just a force for business here in Point.
He said the Lord, what does faith and prayers entail when envisioning something, or whenever you're trying to shape your perspective on an idea?
It's really, my faith and my prayer life is at the core of who I am, because I know that I will not always have the answers, and I can't see what the future is always, but I know who holds my future. And that's the Lord. And so, one of my favorite verses is Romans 8:28. For all things work out to the glory of the Lord for those who love Him. And so I have to keep that, even when things are just like stressful, or I'm just like, how is that even going to work out? Or, personally, professionally, I'm like, okay, God, I know you have this. And that's easier said than done.
It is.
Because I'm one to kind of want to take control, want to just manage. And there's many times when the Lord will just kind of tap me on my shoulder and He's like, I've got this.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
This past year, especially right at starting the podcast, even before, I've been trying to work on that, trying to put God in the center of my life. I've been, the day I try to set up my day is I wake up, start with prayer, read the Bible, and then work out and go to work. And I've noticed that I have such a better day when I do that. I stopped doing it for about 2 weeks, and it was weird because I said, I feel weird, I feel off. The next day when I started praying, it was like I was back. And it was like, it's kind of crazy how much of an impact that has. Just
it does. It centers, and there's multiple times that I will be walking through something and I'm like, okay, I just need to step back and breathe for a minute and then just say, God, take it. And there's multiple times a day that I have to, because I'll take it right back from the Lord, and I'll say, okay, God, sorry, you can have it right back.
Yeah.
And so, that is something I think that we all as humans, want to try to do things on our own, but we don't know the future is. And so we have to trust that He has the plan for us and what's best for us.
And it's hard. It's really hard doing that, because what I do now, I don't know what I'm going to be doing Monday. I really don't. So
that stresses me out.
It does. I agree. Me and you both. It stresses me out a lot, and all I can really do is to grow in my faith in Him. And that's what I was praying on before I started this. So I think this was his way of, this is your way to grow in faith.
Right. Well, I think that, the Lord does open doors, and he has done that for me so many times over my life and my career of, you might not have the qualifications or the experience that they're looking for, but that's never hindered me as a person to push in. And I think that it's just, I know that the Lord is in control, even when it feels out of control.
Yeah.
And that's what I just have to keep reminding myself and try to instill that in my team, and then also in my, in my personal life with my kids as well.
And how do you lean in on prayer and faith to guide the work when you're not seeing the immediate results? I mean, how do you work through that?
So on the professional side, our team is very diverse. But one thing, you can talk to my team, we start every staff meeting with prayer. At every event that we have someone praying.
Yeah.
Every board meeting, every executive committee meeting, which is not typical. And I think that if you set the tone from the very beginning, I don't push my faith on any of my team, and I do not make them, participate if they don't want to. But I always want to set the tone and clear the air, and give the Lord space to move. And even the ones that might not believe the same way that I believe, they can't deny the multitude of, I would call them miracles, but doors that have been opening for our organization, the path that has been cleared when there was no path, and it starts from the top.
Yeah.
And if you set that tone and that attitude for your team, they're going to run up their sleeves and walk beside you, because they know that someone greater than me is leading this team, because I don't always get the answers.
Yeah.
And so I have to lean in and have that faith.
That's that's something that I pray about a lot. Literally what you just said, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
How do you balance as staying true to yourself with the willingness to evolve and adapt to new changes going on?
I think that you have to, I had to set my moral compass really early on in my career, especially as a woman. I think with that, you have to know who you are and know who God calls you who you are. Not let the world define who you are. And I think that you have to always be willing to innovate, or you're going to become irrelevant. And so I've been able to do that. I surrounded myself with people on my team that are way smarter than I am. And I know that. And that doesn't intimidate me. That just knows that that's why they're on the team. And so I've been able to hire to my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I really give them space to lead from their own positions. And we'll sit at a meeting and I'll put something out there and like poke holes in it. Tell me where I'm wrong, or where it could be done better or more efficiently, and between the space to speak that way. And so that really has helped our team evolve.
Yeah, the team, you definitely don't, the way I see it is you don't want to be at the top of your team or your class, because then you don't really have any room to grow, and you want to grow. You always want to constantly grow. When you approach mentoring young people and coaching others for their either spiritual, personal, or professional potential, how do you approach that?
I think, I speak from a place of whenever I was younger, and I want to help the young professionals or even the younger generation have hope, because I want them to see, I don't want them to make the choices I made. I made some pretty stupid decisions when I was a teenager, and, not that I'm proud of, but it made me who I am today. I've always been, a fighter, warrior, not wanting to stop on anything. But if I would have had someone that was really showing me that the sky really is the limit, and the only roadblocks that you have in your life are the ones that you let stop you. And so, you might not have access to A, B, or C like someone else has. But that doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just might be a different way. And so that is what I'm instilling my children. Just because this isn't the way that you thought it would be, you can't stop.
Yeah.
You've got to always look for a different way if that's your goal. And you always have to start with that end in mind. And I know that's cliche, but it's true. And that always helps me visualize things as well. Is like, I can see the end game. And Lord showed me the steps I need to take to get there. You know, and that's what I want to instill. And whenever our young professionals are people that I'm mentoring is, you know, don't let a no stop you. You know, there's always something. Reach big, you know, higher, dream bigger, and a title is title, you know, but that doesn't make you who you are as an individual. So know who you are and stay true to yourself.
And as I mentioned before, we did the interview that I wanted to do this for other people and try and inspire them, or like you said, you know, just because you get a no, or, you know, there's always a different path. I mean, I grew up in El Salvador up into the 3rd grade, and I moved here. And the way we were living in El Salvador when we moved here and now, it's completely different. Like, it's insane how much of a difference it is. I didn't think I'd be doing what I'm doing, interviewing people or anything like this. And it's just crazy journey. So I want to put that out there. Like, if being in a 3rd world country and growing up that way, like you can do a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't grow up in a 3rd world country, but I grew up and absolutely didn't have the things, you know, that maybe other families had. With poverty, but that didn't stop me either. It made me who I am. It made me value relationships and always stand true to your word, because that's the best thing you have, and to dream bigger. And so, you know, I've always had that passion. And I remember my mom, I want to say I was maybe 10, and I remember her, because I always wanted to be a lawyer. That was my dream.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see it. And I remember my mom saying, you can be whatever you want to be. And that was, I think it was that moment where I was like, I can do something like that. So it was always, you know, I had to dream bigger. And that's what, absolutely, you never know what path will work.
You gotta reach for the stars, because you get one eventually.
Absolutely.
In the past, you've talked about adopting a wallflower approach at social gatherings. How has that influenced the ability to learn and observe from others? I try and do that sometimes, by the way.
So whenever I saw that question, I thought, I kind of chuckled, because I think, you know, that was maybe a mindset that I've had in the past. I think that's probably evolved a little bit just with my roles. But, you know, in the past, I had that because I was like, I know that I'm not the smartest person here. I know that I'm not the most experienced person here. And so you will always learn by listening and watching. And so, you know, there was multiple times I would be in a meeting and I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about, but I'm going to take notes, because if there's a word I didn't even know what that word meant, I would write it down, and then I would go back and I would research it. That would be the last time I didn't know what the word meant. And so sometimes it's, you absolutely will learn more, and it will take you farther by listening and leading from that listening, maybe wallflower, you know, concept there. But I think there's also a time to step out and lead. And so that's what I've done through this transition into my new role as the president and CEO. But it's given me the confidence to lead from that position as well, simply because I've been able to witness and watch people that have done this before. And it's helped me figure out what I will do and what I won't do.
Yeah. And earlier you mentioned a little bit about just getting those and, you know, going through struggles. What advice would you give to new professionals about the importance of humility and what that plays?
You have got to always have humility, because I think once you think that you've arrived or that you have something mastered is when you're going to start losing. And there is, I think I touched on a second ago, you know, a title is just a title. There is nothing that has been doable. And I mean, there's many days I've scrubbed toilets, I've mopped the floors, I've taken out the trash countless times, because I ride along with everyone on our team. Because I think that if you have that mindset of that's beneath me, or then people will not respect you. Because I would never ask my team to do anything that I haven't already done, or I'm not going to do it beside them. And so that is what it makes you a cohesive team. And they'll go to the battlefield for me. And they have before. That's, we're a family. And that creates that loyalty and that trust.
You don't hear a whole lot about willing to do things like that, just because some people do think it's beneath them or
Right.
whatever their case may be. Hey, earlier in life, from your work experience working at an office supply store, how do you think that contributed to what your professional growth has gone into?
That's a good question. That's another one I chuckled at, because you've definitely done some research. I started work at a really early age, and I've worked since then. And I think just that atmosphere I've always wanted to do the best I could do at any job that I was doing, waiting tables through school, the office supply store, whatever it was, I wanted to be and do my things. So at 15, I didn't really think about that, but I always wanted to do what I needed to do and didn't complain about responsibilities. And so just that work ethic that was really instilled in me whenever I was working there at such a young age, it just carried me through. Yeah.
Can you describe some of the challenges you encountered during the process of overseeing the transformation of the Congdon Yard campus? This is very cool, by the way.
Yes. Come on down, sure, please.
If you haven't checked that out, it's a very cool campus.
It is. So you want to talk about having a vision and not knowing how it was going to turn out. When we were going through our merger to become Business High Point back in 2015-16 timeframe, we knew as a community, High Point had to innovate or we were going to die. Through the leadership of the city of High Point, they started doing our Catalyst project, which is our ballpark, just in our backyard, which is really cool. But David Congdon was our chairman of the board then, and our chamber was really just getting our feet wet with, how we could have that public and private partnership between, the city, but then also the state, and then what it looks like in High Point. And when we received a grant from the state for $1.5 million to do a co-working space, we had no clue where we were going to put it. So we were looking around. We thought 10,000 square feet. And through David's leadership and vision, the ballpark was going out. And the first building on campus next door was for sale. And he was like, well, why don't I purchase that? And we could put the co-working space here. And so what we thought 10,000 square feet grew to 100,000.
That is a big jump.
Overnight. And his faith in this community, and he wanted to see High Point, raise to its full potential. So through him purchasing that building, he asked the chamber to operate the campus on the we've never done anything like that before, right? And so, just walking through that process of having faith that this is going to work, because there was multiple days that I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. How are we going to make this successful and sustainable? And Megan Oglesby, which I know you're going to be talking to her soon, she is one of my dearest friends, and she is also a visionary. And so we created this dream team. That's what we call it. It was about 8 different people. So it was Megan, myself, we had some real estate guys, we had architect, we had a design team with Barbara Spangle. And so we sat down and really just thought, what could, and had the chance to really so that is where it started. And so the challenges that we faced was really almost that field of dreams kind of thing. If we build it, will they come? And so we had to really focus on something that would be sustainable for the city of High Point. But did we even have what it would take to support something like this? And our biggest struggle was construction started, and in 2 months, COVID hit. And so we were in the thick of construction, which actually helped us because everyone was kind of in their homes. And so when they emerged, our first building on campus was ready to go. And we were almost 100% leased out before and even to the grant.
Wow.
And so, my challenge as a person is, of course, I have never done anything like that before. anymore. But again, I was like, okay, let's roll up our sleeves. What are we going to do? Let's figure it out. And so I had an office, hard hat on, and we were walking around trying to plan. And this is magic. This is a once in a lifetime chance opportunity. But what we also had to base too is changing the perception of what High Point is. And I think that's something that we really have to continuously focus on because these bones won't be shiny forever. So how do we make it sustainable? So overcoming stuff like that, raising dollars to make it happen, $65 million worth of private dollars investment just to this campus alone, and it's still growing. And so just keeping that in order, but then also staying true to the mission of the chamber. How do they work together? I mean, sometimes I pitch myself and I'm like, did we do this? This is really happening. And then I'm like, God, you're amazing. Because it just, how it came together, it was orchestrated. Yeah, it wouldn't have happened anywhere else.
And I think y'all are doing an amazing job, and I can't wait what else y'all do.
We're about to blow your mind. Campus tour. Yeah, I mean, we have over 50 businesses that are here on campus. They employ over 400 employees, and so we had to create that critical mass that's so important for growth in our city. And so, and we couldn't have done it without our partnership with the city of High Point, the state of North Carolina, with our board of directors who were bold enough to take the chance of, are we going to make this work? And so, yeah, that's every day is an adventure.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. Like I mentioned, it really means a lot.
So thank you. Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank y'all, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.